How can you help a young person believe that their future can be brighter than their past? Ousha DeMello has lived that transformation herself, and now she's guiding others to do the same. As a foster carer, educator, best-selling author, and award-winning entrepreneur, Ousha shares powerful lessons about mindset, resilience, and self-worth. Today, she talks to us about how we can nurture belief, strength, and possibility in the lives of children and young people facing adversity. If you are caring for someone else, whether paid or unpaid, and no matter how many hours you do it, did you realise that you may be missing out on thousands of pounds of discounts for things that you may use every day? The Able to Care podcast is proud to be sponsored by the UK's #1 carers card. Started by two best friends who recognise that carers deserve better and are 100% committed to helping to change the lives of all carers and bringing them together as a strong community. Carers Card UK provides support, recognition and rewards. It offers reassurance by providing an ID card that helps access emergency information when needed, while also unlocking discounts, a wellbeing hub, a carers circle tool and a community through their app. All of this for less than the price of a box of chocolates a year. There are discounts on gym membership, days out, electrical goods, clothing and even glasses. Let others know you care while taking a little care of yourself with an ID card you can be proud of. Visit carerscarduk.co.uk/promo code/able to care today to order yours. Hello and welcome back to the Able to Care podcast. I'm your host, Andy Baker, and today we're diving into the powerful and important conversation, how mindset, resilience and growth can transform the lives of young people who face difficult circumstances. Our guest today is Ousha DeMello, an inspirational business trainer, international speaker, #1 best-selling author of Left in Peace, Not Pieces, a foster carer and educator with over 15 years experience. Ousha's journey from adversity to achievement is a living example of the impact belief, encouragement, and opportunity can have on a person's life. In this episode, we'll explore how we can help children and young people build self-worth, develop coping strategies, and see that their past doesn't have to define their future. Whether you're a parent, a caregiver, a teacher, or someone who simply believes in the power of potential, this episode will leave you inspired to make a difference. So Ousha, thank you so much for joining me today. It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much, Andy, for having me here today. It's a pleasure for me.
So obviously we've known each other for a while. We've encountered each other much more in a business kind of capacity and setting. And I know that you've got, multiple businesses and projects that you've done. But I know one of the reasons we had a conversation is because you've been fostering. Well, how long have you been fostering for now?
It's my 4th year now.
4th year. Yeah. And how many children have you got in your household at the moment?
At the moment, I have 2 foster children and I have my daughter. So they are 6, 9 and 12 years old. 3 girls.
Fantastic. So it'd be great to find out more about your kind of journey to fostering. But obviously, a big thing that you do within your business life is obviously, I know that you help people publish books and help people write books and stuff like that, as being a best-selling author yourself. But you're a big advocate for the power of mindset and why mindset is so crucial for people. So why is mindset so crucial, particularly for young people, especially those who've faced difficult circumstances, do you think?
Well, taking into consideration now that I'm doing fostering, that has opened my mind even more about mindset. Of course, when we have children here, sometimes they look normal, but being taken away from their home or their family is already a trauma. And for them to be able to manage this and how, to come back to normality and for that not to affect their mind when they grow, how they make decisions, how they think, how they behave, how to understand that the problems that they're facing is none of their fault. And for them to understand that they are stronger than anyone else, what I believe now. I think mindset plays a huge role. It doesn't matter how much love, how much support, how much, education I can give them. But if I don't have the right mindset to educate them about having the right mindset, none of that would matter. So I think mindset is the key to everything. And it's funny that you read, there's always things about mindset. You go to courses, they teach you about mindset. You speak to any billionaire, millionaire, they will talk to you about mindset. There's a reason behind it. Because no matter how much knowledge, how much education, how much wisdom you share, but if you don't have the right mindset, then you're not allowing yourself to develop, to become more resilient, and to acknowledge that there is a problem and it doesn't necessarily need to define you, and you can overcome anything that you come across. So mindset is key.
So how did your own experiences kind of shape, why mindset's so important to you and how you think about resilience and growth?
That's actually, I came to understand all of this a little bit late in life. And that's why I'm very passionate about talking about it openly now and educate children and dealing with children. And, I think awareness is important at very young age, and there's no limit to what age you are. I learned everything quite late, and I could have suffered a lot of consequences, bad consequences, if I did not understand it. At the time, there were things like, so I went through an abusive relationship and I managed to come out of it. And a lot of people hasn't been able to come out of that relationship. What I suffered for a year, people are still doing it for 20 years. And I think it's just having that mindset. And I was lucky that I was surrounded by people that helped me. At the time, I didn't actually acknowledge that I had the right mindset, but I just knew something was wrong and something needed to be changed. So because of that, now when I look back, I am able to understand that the situation did not define me, because I was very ashamed of it before, because I used to not share my story because I was scared that people will think that I was stupid. How could someone like me go through something like that? And that I was weak. But no, when you come out of the situation, that's when you see that you've actually overcome any situation. And I know a lot of people listening probably have gone through worse situations. And all I'll ask is just to look back and think about the time when you thought, oh, it's so tough, I don't think I can do this. And then you've done it. And how many stages in your life you had moments where you thought things were so difficult. Why things has to be like that? But eventually, time helped you, people helped you, your mindset has changed, you've overcame it. So what I want to say is really my story shaped me, made me realize that I was stronger than I thought. And other people should be able to acknowledge that for themselves too. And if we can instill those kind of mindset in our children, then when you grow up, there's less work for you to do. So you don't have to go through the problem to understand, because some people are lucky to be able to make it, some people are not. So why wait until you have problem to understand that now I need to work on my mindset to fix it? No, you build yourself, you have those tools. And that's what I like to do with children as well, to help them equip themselves. So when situations come, it doesn't affect them as much. And I just want to give an example for, like, I have one of my foster child now. She's quite overweight. So she said that sometimes people say, oh, I'm ugly, I'm this and that. So every day we talk about it. Do you know how beautiful you are? Can you control other people's, mouth or what they say? She said, no. I said, what can you control? How you feel. So it doesn't matter what people say, because people put you down all the time, but you have to know for yourself that you are beautiful. So you don't have to worry about other people. So there are little things that people need to understand now to help their children with their self-esteem at home. And then no matter what comes outside, that they will be able to understand how to deal with it.
Yeah, it's when we're talking about mindset, I think maybe it's worth kind of collaborating. I think a lot of what you're speaking about is kind of the growth mindset principle, isn't it? And it's as opposed to what we call a fixed mindset. And the fixed mindset is, this is who I am and this is how I am, and I'll never be more, I'll never be better. But you gave a great example there of and we've all overcome something in life. We all have been unable to do something, and then we've learned how to do it, whether that be tying our shoelaces or whether it be learning how to use cutlery, or it doesn't need to be big things, but we were able to go from a state of not being able to do that to a state of doing it. And the only way we did that is to kind of go, this is something I'm going to have to learn. I'm going to have to overcome the challenge of getting it wrong and not doing it right and making mistakes and coming out the other end with this new skill. I think we just, sometimes that capacity for the small things we can cope with, but then there's no difference to anything in our life that we kind of explore, isn't it? Just because tying my shoelaces is as much as I can do, but no, anything you set your mind to, you can learn it, you can achieve it, you're going to make some mistakes, it's going to be painful, it's going to go wrong a few times, but you're going to come out the other side with this new skill, or at least, even if it's not the ideal, more skills than you had going into it. And that's so important, isn't it?
Yeah, and you've wrapped it up really nicely about fixed and growth mindset. And I think there's a gap in our education system as well, because I definitely am very educated, but I was very well equipped to find a job and be employable, but I was not equipped for life at all. And I did not know my potential. I had to go through personal development, having mentors that helped me understand that there's more that we can do in life. While our educational system is just teaching you the basic things, and it's not showing you to, go beyond of what you can do. So yeah, definitely the fixed mindset and growth mindset is something that we need to learn. There's more within everyone. From what you're doing right now, you can do 10 times more. Always just think that way.
So how did you discover this? Because you said you came to it quite late in life. Was it just was there a mentor that came into your life, or was it certain books you read, or what allowed you to kind of discover this unhidden skill or self that you had?
Yes. So I had a very normal life where I would just work full time. I was a business lecturer for about 15 years. And it was only when, sometimes they say you have to be in pain for you to be able to move. Otherwise, if you're not painful, if things are not painful enough, you're comfortable, you just carry on in your comfort zone. And that's how my life was before. So I used to go with the flow. And I felt like it was a normal thing for me to do, is work full time. And I actually started struggling with money at some point. And I was thinking, I was working all these hours, but somehow I was spending quite a lot too. And then when I had my baby girl, my daughter, after maternity, I went full time and I wasn't sleeping at night. On top of it, I was having minus bank account every month. And I'm thinking there was something that wasn't normal in the system in what I was doing, and something needed to change. And that's when I started looking into mentorship. So I knew always there was something that I could do, but I just didn't know what to do because I was just going with the flow. Then I went and I met Jason James. He's an incredible mentor. He opened my mind completely. I enrolled into his 3 days business course, and I had learned in 3 days with him more than I had learned in my postgraduate, undergraduate, and my business lecturing career. I had learned more with him. And I actually took on board and I took actions. I invested more. I went into his academy, followed him through him. I met other mentors, people in the same network who had the similar mindset of growth. I had loads of guidance. And there I just started doing one thing after the other. And it was one of his, he also does a public speaking course. And when we had to do the course, we had to think about of how we're going to share a story so we can connect more with our clients and things like that. And that's how I started digging back into my life. 10 years ago, when I suffered from domestic violence, I was quiet for 10 years. And that's when it all came out. And I decided to share my story. And then a lot of people started asking me for questions. And I thought, you know what, I'll just write a book. Then it's all there. And that book became hugely successful, #1 international bestseller. And from there, other people started asking me to help them write their books. And that's how my publishing company was born as well. So things happen. My purpose found me instead of me looking for it. I'm not saying it's my purpose for life because we're always evolving. But, I find something that's really fulfilling. And at the same time, I was able to do other things around mindset, sharing stories, making people voices heard in a powerful way. And, people are everybody's got a story to share. They've got knowledge to share. And if like we say, the graveyard is the most expensive place. It's because, there's wisdom, there's knowledge, there's solution to problems that are all gone without being shared in the world. So I think people need to share those. And a book is a powerful way to do it.
Mm. Yeah, 100%. And I think my journey probably to shift in mindset was through books originally. I didn't have a mentor early on. I met a few people who had done some training courses and things like that, but mainly it was the work of people like Napoleon Hill and Jim Rohn was a huge person. I read an awful lot of his work and stuff like that kind of opened me up to the growth mindset kind of principles. And mainly from a business point of view, but help me. And I always talk about one of my mentors, or author that kind of guided me was Jeff Thompson. Reading his work was phenomenal, but it did change everything. And it sounds like it was a story there of, because you were in that mindset, you said that your purpose found you, but you had to be in that open state to accept those purposes through that actually turning that pain and challenges that you'd experienced in your early life into something that drove you or actually became a purpose later in life. Is that, I think I've talked about on a few podcasts, the GPS principle, everything bad, or everything good, find some gratitude, some perspective, but also some service. Like, how can I use this to help others? How can I use this to open up new opportunities for myself? And I think that's probably you mentioned at the very beginning there, children that you're supporting within your fostering role, who every child who comes into fostering has experienced some form of trauma or challenge or something like that. But it's a story. It's going to be a thing for them to overcome if we can help them to realize it's a thing to overcome rather than a thing to hold them back.
Yes, definitely. And people have to understand that there's polarity of life, where there is good, there's bad. Sometimes if your life was just a straight line, it would be boring, would it? So, and it's like when people go to the gym and you have to work out, you have to go through that pain for that muscles to come out. And I'm not saying you have to go through pain, but anything that comes across that's a little bit uncomfortable or difficult, consider it as a journey. Consider it as, something that's helping you understand, learn, get lessons that can be served at some point in your life. If it's not for yourself, you'll be able to help someone else. I never knew that my story would be able to help anybody. It was only later in life, 10 years, I stayed quiet about it. I was so ashamed. I felt weak. And I couldn't even say the word I'm divorced, because I thought it was so bad. But no, I'm actually very happy I divorced because I made a change. There was something that was wrong. I fixed it. I moved. That's what people sometimes need to understand. You need to move. You're not a tree. When there's a problem, you move. It's like you feeling like you're in hell, but then you want to stay in hell. No, you have to move. Heaven could be just 2 doors away. So you just have to keep on moving. So the key, what I'm saying here is you have to keep on going because life is going to move on. People are moving on. Don't feel that people are going to feel sorry for you because people will notice you when you've gone through a bad phase and you've overcome it. Then they'll admire you, not when you are still in the problem. Not everybody's going to, be giving you that attention because people are selfish nowadays. People look out for themselves because they are too busy growing. So people have to understand that you are in a problem. It's your responsibility to acknowledge there is a problem. It's your responsibility to make the right decisions, and it's your responsibility to come out of it. And when you have that acknowledgement, you have that awareness, then you will find the right people around you that will help you do it. I'm not saying you have to do it alone. I'm saying you have to acknowledge that the problem is there and you need to change.
I think I'm just as you were speaking there, I was kind of thinking, I think there's many parents, caregivers, even teachers, whether they be paid and unpaid caregivers as well, maybe going through a real tough time as well. And it feels, as you said, life would be boring without those challenges. But sometimes when you're in the challenge, it can feel a bit all encompassing and overwhelming. And and like you feel a little lost, like you're desperately trying to tread water and just managing to kind of stay at the surface and keep enough air to keep you breathing. It's hard in that moment, isn't it, to necessarily kind of go, hey, but this is an opportunity. I am learning through this, I'm growing through this, and I'll come out the other side a stronger, better person as a result of that. I think it can feel really challenging at the time. Have you ever found anything that works really well or helps people to kind of shift their mindset when they're stuck in that moment? What's the best tips that you've found?
Yeah, it's easier said than done when we talk about these kind of things, because there are certain situations that are really bad. And, I have empathy, I understand. But the only thing is, it's not the end of the road. That's all people have to always remember. Anything you're going through, however it feels, however bad it feels, and you feel like you're stuck, it's just not the end of the road. And I think the key thing here is, and I'm just talking from my own experience, when I went through a really bad situation, I did not do anything alone. When I felt stuck and I knew something was wrong, I knew who to talk to. I didn't talk to everybody. I selected wisely of who would be able to help me in certain situations. And I went directly and got help. And it wasn't just one person, it was a couple of people that I could get an idea of what I could do. And I even went through, legal people as well as friend and lesser family, because I didn't want people to get involved. But it's the same for whether you're a child, whether you are an adult. The key is, if you feel stuck, you need to move. And if you can't move, get help to get you moving. And just keep on moving. Don't stop. Don't give up on anything, no matter how hard it is. Because again, and I always say it because it's so logical that we underestimate it. Look back to a situation where you felt it was not, you would not be able to do anything about it, but you did. And you're right here and you're alive, you're breathing, you're fine. So think back again to the problems that you solved before, the times that you felt fear, but you did it anyway, and you managed to overcome it. So you want to live and getting experience, not regrets that you did not try harder.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing, isn't it, as well? The what if I try and I fail, or what if I try to change and it doesn't make a difference? And I think they're the things that, but then not trying at all is definitely failure. Whereas trying and learning through mistakes is still movement, is still stepping in the right direction. It's still a change, isn't it?
Yeah, you're already winning by just trying, because there's so much more to gain from it. Awareness, lessons, knowledge, because the more you're educated, the more confidence you will get in life. And that's all about preparation for life, is to get the lessons, get the more awareness you have, the more prepared you'll be. And the more prepared you are, the more confident you'll be in life as well.
As you were talking there, it reminded me of one of my favorite kind of ways of shifting mindset. So when people say they can't, I try and get them to shift over from saying, I can't do that, to, no, you're finding it difficult. And just by changing that wording, you're finding it difficult. Well, if I said I can't juggle, for instance, technically I'm a liar, because I could learn. I just find it really difficult to be able to do. But if you're finding something difficult, you don't just quit. You go, well, who could I ask that could maybe teach me? Can I practice more? Do I need a little bit more time to be able to do this? And you can explore, if I'm finding it difficult, what could I put around me to help me to be better? That's it. We can't wish it was easier. We sometimes have to wish we were better. And it's that I've got to change me. Nothing's outside of it. I can't make the universe be nicer to me. I've got to kind of shift my mindset towards the way that I'm encountering or managing day to day.
Yeah, it's the language, isn't it? So the language, it's key. I actually was in a car with someone once and recently, and the person kept on saying, "Oh, I need more money. I don't have enough money." And I said, "No, don't say that. What can I do to make more money? Maybe you could ask that." And then she said, "Yeah, actually, I would do that." It changed everything, and her face lit up rather than talking, "I don't have money." There's just the language that you use that can change your mindset.
Yeah. The other one I know from similar thing to that is I can't afford it. You hear that all the time. People going, I can't afford it. If you shift it to how can I afford it? Just that little bit of well, if I cut back on that and I could change that and maybe I could save up for a few months, and suddenly then I'm looking at the solution rather than the problem. And it is that change in mindset is perfect. So obviously you've changed your life, best-selling author, started a publishing company through finding this ability to kind of accept the good things and step towards opportunity. How do you bring that into your household? Is that something, are you the kids in your household constantly getting this mindset shift put into the kind of
Every
eased in on
single
them?
day.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you
Yeah.
ingrain that into day-to-day practice and day-to-day kind of habits?
Yeah. So it's just during normal time, normal routine things that we do, when they're fighting with one another, for example, children, and, the language that they use with one another. I just step in straight away and speak to them about shifting their language and how they speak. And I had one, not the current one I had, but I had another one. So I had 17 children already now. Me and my husband were counting the other day. We were really pleased about it. And there was one, such a beautiful girl. I miss her so much. Her name is Sissy. When they came to our care, it was very negative, and that wasn't aligning with me at all. So I did struggle a little bit at the beginning, but every single day I was talking to them. I said, "You're beautiful. Maybe we should give compliment to one another today," because they used to fight with the other siblings. So we used to share compliments, and then in the end, it was after about 7 months. I overheard her talking everything that I was telling her to her sister. We don't have space for negativity. We only do positivity. She was talking like a little bird, and she was saying things that I told her, and I didn't realize she was absorbing everything like a sponge. And I was so proud of her. And even I was getting calls from her school to say that how kind she was and things like that. So it was everything. So it's not just the language, but about what they do. So there was another thing that I struggled with was they were breaking all my daughter's toys, but then they would not share theirs, but they would take all of hers. So there are things that I realized it's giving, it's a problem. So when we used to go to the supermarket, we used to buy extra food and give to the homeless outside. And I used to make them queue up and give. And they used to say, "Oh, that's so exciting. It's so nice. Now he's going to have food to eat," and things like that. So I said, "It's nice giving, isn't it?" So then we came home and said, "We should be giving at home as well." And then that's how it started. And then they started sharing toys. So it was just a matter of not how do you say, forcing things through their mindset, but doing it as we go. So it's just, I talk to my kids openly. And I think when we have happy kids, it's very easy to have good behavior and good mindset. So all I do is really try to make them as happy as possible. Luckily, I'm a fun mom. I like having fun with my kids. So they like that. So when we're having fun, I take time to speak to them and how we should say things. I correct them straight away. And sometimes, to answer your question now, I think it's connection before correction. So I connect with them in various ways, especially when I have girls with hair, language, speak. They do things for me, I do things for them. And then I started correcting them. So that helped a lot. But to answer your question, I do it every single day. I'm talking to them, and I can see they taking it in.
That's wonderful. And it's, I mean, exactly the right mindset. And obviously I refer to the connection before correction thing all the time. I think that's come from maybe Sarah Naish that originally kind of came out with that quote. But building that trust to start off with. But then it sounds like it's an ingrained part of your home culture is growth mindset and relational and learning through experience. And it sounds like social stories as well is something you've used in there of like, look how nice it feels to help the homeless. Well, it doesn't just have to be for them. It can feel nice anytime to share and to give and providing opportunities to almost promote that kind of growth mindset and that kind of that compassion as well, by the sounds of it.
Yes. So it's all about nurturing. And like you said, once they trust you, they will listen.
Yeah.
And once they feel loved, they will listen.
Yeah.
And when, we are in alignment, they actually automatically start speaking your language. So we have to be a role model.
Yeah.
So how we behave is what's going to shape our kids. So whatever we want to see in them, that's what we need to do. So me and my husband, we're very good at, communication and working together with our children. And we have like culture, like you said, the culture is very important as well. Like we always have meals together, we always have tea together. I have a lot of opportunities to speak to them. I'm playing constantly with them when they're around, and then there'll be quiet times where they do their own things. So it's helped a lot. So trust, happiness, and bonding with them. These three things, once we have them, it's very easy to instill any positivity in them and lessons and help them understand how they can grow, and they listen then.
Have you ever encountered an adult or child's behaviour that has felt difficult, overwhelming, or challenging? Have you sometimes felt at a loss of what to do, or know that you didn't handle it quite right? People are complex and unpredictable, and their behaviour can be like the weather. We've all made the mistake of looking out the window and feeling safe to wear shorts, but 5 minutes later wishing for an umbrella. What if, like a weatherman, you understood how humidity, temperature and pressure all come together to cause the weather, allowing you to better prepare, predict and respond, and prevent ever having a picnic ruined by a thunderstorm ever again? My book, called Targeting the Positive with Behaviours that Challenge, helps you to become the weatherman of behaviour. It provides you with a toolkit to increase competency, confidence, resilience and empathy, so you feel more assured about how to respond to distressed or dysregulated behaviours in others, including those affected by trauma, mental health, neurodiversity, learning disabilities or dementia. Build better connections, achieve de-escalation and improve outcomes for yourself and those you engage with my celebrated 6-stage target model, a step-by-step process to reduce distress for everyone. Discover my empowering, person-centered guide in Targeting the Positive, written by me, Andy Baker, available from online bookstores worldwide. Find a link in the description and order today. How do you cope so what are the challenges that many, I'm sure, children that you've come across, they're coming from difficult backgrounds where maybe their self-worth and their self-esteem has been damaged and diminished. What strategies do you often use to try and help them to see that there is more in themselves?
It's more of helping them with their self-love and with their self-esteem, because I think once this is strong and they know they have, self-worth, no matter what other children say to them, it's not going to matter because they do get affected. There are many situations I've had before. So I had to speak to them and explaining to them that, other children are going to behave the way they behave because that's how they've been brought up. But you're not like them. You're good. And it doesn't matter what people say because you know you're beautiful. Sometimes we even speak in the mirror. So when I'm doing their hair, I said, did you know you're beautiful? Look at this, and things like that. So there are things that I speak to them about every single day that will help them with their self-worth, self-esteem, self-belief. And I think these are the strongest tool you can give to any child. And then the rest is going to be easy. If they have that, you won't have to worry too much. And they're children. It doesn't mean that they will get it straight away. They will still have their ups and downs, especially when they're growing, competition with nails, makeup, someone looking better than them and things like that. So I have girls, so that's how I had to deal with most of the time. But I think these are the 3 tools that I give them, is to have self-worth, self-belief, and self-esteem. If they have that strong, and I know, and I do it with my daughter as well, I know I wouldn't have to worry about them when they're out there because I can't protect them all the time.
Yeah, I suppose I really like that as far as the getting them almost to compliment themselves using the mirror is quite nice, because that's a hard thing that a lot of people, as far as self-affirmations and stuff like that's concerned, they often encourage you to kind of look in the mirror as you say self-affirmations to try and, so you're saying it back to yourself rather than just saying it in your own head. And I suppose for girls or typically those with longer hair, where you can kind of be combing their hair and brushing their hair. Do you think, obviously you said that it's mainly girls that you've had, do you think it's harder for boys to find that kind of, because I think regressed attachment building activities, which is what you've mentioned there, so something we teach about in overcoming attachment difficulties is, regress back and brushing a child's hair is really positive. Do you think it's, have you got other examples you can think of other than brushing hair that you've utilized for some of those real connection building activities?
I do it with cooking. Usually we bake cakes together. So I get them because I have three. Sometimes it's quite challenging because everybody wants to get involved at the same time and everybody wants to do the same thing at the same time. So again, it's open communication and arrangements of who's doing what. And then, so when we speak, I teach them not just about self-esteem, but about health and safety, things of why I put the pan a little bit away from the, from the cooker. So it's little things that I teach them all the time, like, okay, why can't you stay in the car on your own? Because their parents used to leave them in the car and go shopping and things like that. So I teach them. So it's just all open communication. So one activity is obviously cooking. And second is obviously, it's funny because I play hide and seek in my house and I'm the best at hiding as well. So they find it a lot of fun and they hate it when I have to hide because they can't find me. But it's, I think when I have so much fun with them, it's so much easier for me to teach them anything, to connect with them. So I play with them. Not always, they know when I can't. But there's time I'd say, today we'll play hide and seek, and their face just lit up. And also when we go out, like driving, we speak a lot while we're driving, the kind of music that we like. We dance a lot as well. And there's time when we sit down to do homework, and I will explain to them why they have to do their homework on a Friday, not on a Sunday, which is you do the most important things first, and then you don't have to worry. So it's little basic things that sometimes people misunderstand. Like as adults, sometimes we miss deadlines. It's because we're doing things last minute and we haven't think through and we haven't planned well. So these are things that I instill in my kids early. Do things first. What's the most important things to do first? So, for example, in the morning, hair, your bag, your uniform, and then you can, have your breakfast and have your iPad. So then you can relax and eat while, we sort out the transport and things like that. So it's little things that we do. And another things we did once, and I remember my daughter was coloring and there was quite a huge paper and she wanted to give up after she'd done a bit. And I said to her, and my husband was listening at the time, and I said, this is why people don't succeed, because you give up. So when you don't give up, you be the different one that will reach further. There are little things like that I instill in them every day through different things. So there's not a specific thing, obviously, because I've got girls, hair is always a nice one. But cooking, activity, playing, and when we are driving and things like that. So every single thing that we've done, there's always an opportunity for me to bond, correct, educate them.
Yeah. It sounds like you're weaving kind of multiple life skills into a lot of the interaction that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And I think there's many parents out there, not just foster parents, but parents generally that sometimes feel like that's a real struggle. They haven't got those same habits that once upon a time would have been just part of daily evening living, wouldn't it? Of coming home and cooking tea with the family, for the family and stuff like that. Now sometimes feels like a real challenge. It's a rush. It's hey, we'll just stick that in the microwave or we'll just stick that on the hob and then walk away from it without necessarily recognizing the actual benefits of taking that time. It's going, well, I've got to sort the kids with this and sort the kids with this and sort the kids with this, and I've got to cook, rather than necessarily going, actually, if we combine this in together, if we make this an activity about a learning experience, about opportunities to connect, an opportunity to teach about hygiene, to teach about health and safety, all the things you just mentioned there was loads in there as far as just simply baking or cooking a meal, could actually be something really collaborative rather than just another hassle,
Yeah,
rather than a chore.
if you sat kids down and you told them, if there's a case of fire, the exit is there, the exit is there, you have to be careful of that, they're not going to remember anything. But while you're doing something, and what I notice with children is when I tell them why, they recall it quicker and better. So when we're doing, for example, cooking, when we're in the kitchen, I'll tell them this is a lock cabinet. You don't go for that one. That is just for mommy and daddy and things like that. When we're cooking, you have to be careful of fire. These are the things that you can't put next to the cooker, and then why. And then they find it fun. And when kids are having fun, they learn better. And that's the key. It's all fun with kids. And then you instill things through experience, not just sit them down and say, this is what you have to do, this is what you have to do. They're never going to listen.
Yeah. I think there's giving the reason why. I know there's a lot of people who sometimes get caught in old scripts, or parental scripts are kind of because I said so. There doesn't need necessarily, they don't feel a reason that they should have to justify why they're telling a child to do something. They just go, well, because I said, because they're still positioning themselves as I'm the authority, I know better, and therefore you should listen to me. I think society's changed massively. So one, there's a lot of kids who know more than adults do because they've now got ChatGPT and stuff like that and using better. So they know the answers before we do. But it's also, there's a wonderful book that more than likely you've probably read as well, Ousha, which is called Influence. And one of the examples, I'm sure it's that book where it gives the example of how why actually increases the likelihood of some complying with a request. I think they did a study where it was people using a photocopier, and somebody joined the back of the queue, and if they just went to the front of the queue and just said, I need to do these 3 copies, and just jumped the queue, quite a lot of people said, no, you go to the back. But when they said, because I'm in a rush, straight away, just adding that because actually increased the likelihood of people allowing them to jump. Now, actually, then they did another experiment to kind of go, well, is that because the reason they were empathizing with the reasoning? But they changed it. The third time I think they did it is, I need to do 3 copies because I need to get these done. So they didn't actually add anything extra with the because, but the fact that they were just giving a reason why, we're pre-programmed that, hey, there's a reason for this. It's not just because they're telling me, it's because there's a reason for it. And that's a really good habit to get into, isn't it? But I think it's a habit again. I think some parents are, because it's hard work to give a reason why. Maybe we don't know why because we've never explored it ourselves. I just want to tell you. Have you practiced that, do you think?
I got this from my own experience, and it's from my experience with my kids, understanding when I tell them why they remember better, obviously. But I got it from my first. It's a strange example, but my first job was in McDonald's, and we had to wear these safety black shoes, and I used to like the material one because it was so comfortable. And all the managers were saying, you need to change your shoes, you need to change your shoes, you need to change your shoes. I never changed it because I always used to get away with anything I wanted to do there anyway at that job. But then there was a consultant once, and she came in and she told me, these shoes, they're not appropriate because if a hot oil falls onto your shoes, your feet will get burned. She just told me that. And the next week I had new shoes. Just by understanding why. And that's why I always do it with my kids. And believe it or not, that was my first encounter that I will never forget. And I understood the power of why. And I've always used it ever since for myself when I speak to other people as well. And obviously, but for the experience and understanding that it actually does work. And like you said, sometimes as parents, we think we don't have the time to explain the why, but it helps you so much more long term. And it actually save you so much more time long term. So sometimes it's good to just take that time and explain it. And if it works for adults, it works like magic with kids.
Yeah. Well, kids are so can't remember, curious, well, I'll use the word of, as far as they ask why all the time anyway. So
I was going to say, my thought is like, why? Why?
Yeah,
Everything
absolutely.
is why.
Because I say we're constantly looking for reasons why we do things, why we don't do things. And I think just shutting a child down, as you said, building self-worth and self-esteem is all about, hey, it's really good to ask that why. It's really important to ask that why. You should be questioning and wanting to understand. So it actually be taking away from that kind of naturally inquisitive, that was the word I was looking for earlier, inquisitive nature of a child. And if we're taking away their, that inquisitive nature, then that's potentially demoralizing, knocking their self-esteem, taking away from something that's really, really positive. So yeah, but it's a bad habit. Some people, especially when we're stressed, and that's one of the challenges, isn't it? Which is why the whole everything you've been talking about, the mindset kind of shift, mindset builds resilience. It's about overcoming this. This isn't going to last. Allows us to kind of better cope with some of the challenges that's thrown our way. Obviously, did you say you'd had 17 children that have come through your household so far? That's great. Yeah. I should imagine you've seen a mix, a variety of different characters in that time.
Yeah, I loved every single care. Some are very short term, some stay a little bit longer. I learned so much from the kids that come here. They are magical. They probably don't realize that they help us sometimes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
How have you, obviously, with multiple people coming through your household, is there anything that you've learned, whether it be through the growth mindset or anything just through your experience, that you found has really worked for your self-care, to help you to cope with some of the difficult times?
For my difficult times?
Yeah. With the kids and stuff like that.
Communication with my husband.
Yeah.
So just knowing that I've got someone to go to and talk to him about things that bothers me. And come together for a solution. Sometimes he just steps in. I do most of the care, but he's always there, and that just makes me feel good, and it just helps me overcome. And I think that's why I do fostering as well, is because I know there's a system, and we have supervisors, we have network. I have friends who are also very, very experienced foster carers. And there's people that I can talk to. But how I overcome any of my challenges with my children, when it bothers me, I communicate with my husband, and then we deal with it together. And I think that helped, because I don't think sometimes it can get overwhelming, obviously, because sometimes if kids come short term, you don't know them very well, you haven't had that time to bond with them, and you don't want to be correcting them, and then, they don't have that next experience. So all I do, as much as I can, is just give them as much love as possible, as much care as possible while they're here, and make them feel that they're on holiday. It's a good time. Don't feel like foster caring, they've been taken away and now they're having a hard time. I just make that time worthwhile for them, to make them help remember it in a positive way.
It sounds like you've kind of set that up. Obviously, you've got a really good relationship with your husband to be able to do that and use for that, so that you're finding that opportunity to also have fun and to just, I should imagine, vent sometimes as well, just to kind of go, this is winding me up. I'm struggling with this a little bit, and that calming influence that somebody's slightly outside of it. Obviously, there is some parents and foster parents and stuff who may not feel they have anybody. But as you said, there's often quite a positive framework available. But sometimes that can be, again, stepping out of that mindset. There's an ego sometimes, like, I can't say that I'm struggling to anybody else because they'll think less of me. They think I'm not very good. Whereas actually, as you beautifully mentioned earlier, in the whole concept of your book, by the sounds of it, it's the overcoming that challenge and asking for help is wise. I heard this the other day, actually. It was brilliant that, not asking for help isn't weak, it's wisdom. And I thought, I haven't heard that before. And it just kind of stuck with me a little bit, going, if everybody was to reframe talking to other foster parents, talking to other parents, that other single mum who's down at the schoolyard, who's also looking potentially haggard from a difficult morning, have a chat and have a coffee together and going, oh, kids are a nightmare, aren't they? Now, how could we better support each other potentially?
Yeah, like you mentioned as well, ego. Sometimes I feel like, what, I'm doing well. I don't need help. I'm fine. And, because luckily it's part of the process for us to actually go and network with other foster parents. I learned so much. And the things that I used to find difficult, when I heard other foster carers telling their stories and their struggle, I'm thinking, you know what, my kids are amazing. So it helped in every way. And there was a time I had problems with hygiene with one of the girls, and I just had a foster carer who had exactly the same age girl, same problem, and she told me exactly what she did, and I came and I did it, and I did that, and it helped so much. So we learn from other people, especially for those people who are doing what you do, but they've already gone ahead. Why struggle? Just go and ask for help. And like you said, it's strength. Asking for help is strength, not weakness.
So you obviously took your challenges and you turned them into a book, and that took you on a whole new trajectory in your life of your publishing company and things like that. Do you so you're turning your personal story into like a platform for helping others, essentially. What do you believe? Do you think everybody has a book in them? Do you think everybody should to find that book, whether it be a young person, whether it be a carer? Do you think everybody has one?
I think everybody has a book, and it doesn't mean that you have to have suffered a situation for you to have a story. It could be a successful story. Some people would probably want your, what you have, what you've achieved, and how you've achieved them. And so I think it's a good way of sharing knowledge, sharing your story, but at the same time empowering other people. And you mentioned about children, if they have they can write a book. And I'm just taking an example of my daughter. My daughter doesn't realize it. She's only 6, but she's been so kind to my foster children. She's unbelievable. The things that she does, the open heart, the open mind. And sometimes I can see that, she's struggling because others are not sharing, but she's being patient because she understands. There are things that she's doing already that I think will help, like helping other children be kind, helping other children become polite. And my foster children, some of them, they can teach other children become more resilient. They are so strong. They don't realize how strong and how amazing they are for them to overcome what they overcome. Sometimes I miss people, and I find it really difficult when I'm thinking about someone and I just want to have them. Imagine them being taken away from their parents, from their loved one, the only people that were supposed to protect them and look after them, their home. So I think they've gone through bigger challenges than any of us right now, because when we had problems as an adult, we already had been equipped with a phone, with a mindset, with people, with, taking public transport and go find advice and do whatever, but they can't. So they've gone through bigger challenges than us, and they are able to do it. So I think they have bigger, even more stories to share with us.
Yeah. There's quite a few people within the care experienced community that I know have brought out books and or use it as a platform to help raise awareness and to encourage others. I was actually chatting to a friend of mine actually who was in care, is now a foster parent and a social worker, and he's just been inspired to start his own business and start trying to do some training and consultancy himself to raise awareness and developed a bit of a system himself, which is, but it's that shift in mindset. I think it's been a while for him kind of going, I know I should be doing something, but what should I do? So when you're helping people, because I take it you help people to actually create that book or to move them forward in that journey, how do you help people find that story or put it into words that other people would want to read?
So the core message is people. Like, for example, Andy, if you came, you have your own story. And obviously, some people can say the story as it is. But then what I do as a publisher is really help them say the story as it is, but at the same time, help other people and find a way to inspire other people, to help them, give them solutions to the problems that they have. And obviously a little bit of behind the scene of what was going in the mindset, because that's how help people change and shift their mindset. So basically my author's core messages stays. I just help them say it in an empowering way. That's it. And obviously through the whole publishing process and make them a bestseller and things like that. So sometimes it can be overwhelming just thinking about what do I do next. So when you work with a publisher like myself, then you don't have to worry about that. You just worry about getting the story out and that's it. And then we do the rest.
So how did you go about when you obviously went through your experience and you put pen to paper or keyboard? I don't know when you're writing your story. Did you find it useful, helpful? Was there a benefit to just, even if you'd never have got it published, obviously, #1 bestseller, but if you'd never got it published, did you still find it a useful journey to go on writing that book?
Very useful journey. When I was writing my book, I was getting flashback of what happened. Things that I used to think, oh, this happened to me. It was very bad. When I was writing it, I was like, why did I let this happen to me? How could I have tolerated this? I can't believe this. This is what I should have done. This is the help I should have. So the solutions were coming straight away. And when I was writing it, it became very empowering. It became healing. And it was helping me become even more stronger because I was seeing it in a different light. I was out of the situation. But when it was in my mind, I was still in the situation. But when I got it out on pen and paper, obviously I used to type, it was out. I was out of the situation. I was looking at it on a different perspective, and it was life changing. I saw myself very powerful. And I think it was all, like I said, I would not have done it on my own. I would not have been able to do it alone. I had my mentor because of the public speaking course that I did. But gosh, that process of writing the book was very powerful. And I would recommend anybody who's struggling to, if you have a story and you feel like you've been affected, just put it down on paper. You will see it in a different light, completely different light.
It's one of the things that we often encourage in therapy and things like that sometimes, writing it down creates that distance. As you mentioned there, it's sometimes, particularly trauma is something we hold. We become the person who is going through the negative experience again. It's difficult for us to see ourselves as whether it's older or bigger or stronger or have changed because we're holding ourselves in that emotional moment. And that's what happens a lot with childhood trauma as well. Putting it down in black and white allows you to distance yourself from it, to put it to a slightly, it's away from me. I can look on it, as you said, I can look at it in black and white and kind of go, I couldn't have helped that. There's nothing I could have done about that in that moment, but I could have done something in that moment that I would learn from next time. And that's definitely really powerful. As far as I know there is some people out there who potentially who've spoken to me about the fear of actually seeing it in black and white may be too much for them, maybe feels too scary. Did you ever go through that, the fear of actually put it down in black and white at all?
Yeah, definitely. I had fear of what people would think. I had fear of what if the people who was involved in that story read that story. But it was all true. So there was nothing to fear about. And I thought, I'm only speaking my truth. I believe in what I'm saying. And I believe that. And the thing is, things happen at the right time as well. People should not force themselves. Like, if you had to ask me to write that story maybe 5 years ago, I would not have written it in the way I wrote it when I wrote it. And I think timing is very important as well. It's like I said, my mindset changed and I knew my worth and I decided to write that book. But that helped me understand the story better. So I had a different mindset then. I was not in a victim mode. I was in a sharing mode. So, like I said, everybody, I think, who has a story, who feels the fear of, putting it in writing, you don't have to share it, but you can start writing it down because that's only going to give you clarity. And obviously you can tweak things around to make it more, it depends on how much details you want to give. I still have regret because there's so much more that happened in my story, but because I've worked strictly on a time frame, I did it. Because if I kept on thinking about all the details, I would never finish my book. So I just had to be very strict into writing the book by having a certain time frame. And I knew, like, for example, 2025, I'm publishing my book. Now I need to start planning of how much I'm going to write per month so I can reach that deadline. So now, whether you publish it straight away or not, and I think there's never a good time than now to just put it down for yourself. Who is going to be affected by it? No one. It's just you. You're going to have a clarity in terms of your information and help you understand how you want to use that information, whether for yourself, personally, to help other people. It doesn't matter. It's your information, but just put it out there.
I think it's a really positive way of actually being in control of your story in a way as well, isn't it? And the fact that I suppose even once you put it down on paper, you can either choose to publish it, you could choose to just rip it up and burn it, you could choose to change it any day, you could turn it into a false narrative and turn it into a fictional story if you wanted, just from that baseline level. But I suppose it gives you so much control over your story, so there could be quite an empowering aspect to that as well. Yeah,
I want to share something. When I wrote my book, I did not think a lot about who am I going to save, or, who am I going to inspire. I just knew I had to share my story, and I knew it will help someone here, somehow. And after 2 years, I had so many spare books. So what I did is when I gave my daughter's teaching assistant some gifts, I put one of my book in each of the bags. When I went back in January, one of the TA actually ran out and hugged me. And she said, "Oh my God, I read your book. Thank you." And she said to me, "My sister went through the same situation as you, but she took her life." And, and if my book was in her hand, she would have probably got inspiration from that. I understand that you could have gone through it, because I went through the exact same thing, but I chose to live, So, just think, don't think that you're going to go and help billions of people. Just think about that one person that you could inspire, you could help with the information that you have in your head. Because once you're gone, it's all going to go with you. And that's it. No one else is going to ever know. So I think the best way is, like I said, you don't have to show your vulnerability if you don't want to. It's you have full control, like you said, Auntie. They have control over that paper, that story. Whatever part you want to share with the world, you decide. You don't have to have an obligation to share the whole life with people if you don't want to. But share a bit that will help, at least.
Yeah, it was a big thing for me. I always wanted to write a book as well, which is one of the reasons that I did, because I just wanted to leave a legacy. I wanted something on the shelf that would outlive me as well, that kind of has a little bit of my story. Mine's obviously a bit more non-fiction, but it's less biography and more textbooky. But yeah, the plan is to do another one. So I'll be in contact with you probably to help draw it out, a bit more of a biography. Yeah.
It's nice that you've mentioned about legacy, because people have houses, wealth that you want to create your will, for you to leave behind. So when you write your book, you are leaving your ethical will. People are going to get to know who you are, your knowledge, your wisdom. I think it's something that to work on as well. Why just leave properties and luxury things? Leave your legacy.
Beautiful. I always love those. I don't know whether you've seen those. I'm sure you've come across them as well. For many caregivers out there, I did it with my gran, and the plan is to do it with both my parents as well. Where you can buy the books that's full of lots of questions to actually help your loved one to actually draw out their story, to create a book from their life, even if they don't want to do it themselves. I sat with my gran and asked her lots of the questions and stuff like that. I learned so much about her history, about her past, that I never would have thought to have asked before, without having that kind of that document. But it meant that then I've got something to always hold that can pass on, that, hey, there's a bit of history in this book. And that's a wonderful thing about books generally, isn't it?
Yeah. And how I started thinking about ethical will was because of my dad. My dad passed away when I was 4. But my dad had so many properties. He bought lots of things in Mauritius. And at the time, how he was doing it, how he went out, the mindset he had a growth mindset, we can tell. But I don't know anything about my dad. And because when we grow, we are also busy. It's only now, here and then, when I meet my brothers, they'll say, "Oh, that was Dad's favorite song." But I don't have anything about my dad. Nothing. And that's why I come with the concept about ethical will, is to leave something behind that people will know you with. Obviously, it doesn't have to be just business. It doesn't have to be problem. It could be about you, about your way of life. How time has changed, how they used to live before. How did he build those houses? So I actually inherited one of the house in Mauritius that he built with his hand. It's not good condition right now, obviously. We can't live in it, but it's his work.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, you
Yeah.
say if only you'd written it down, or a journal of that process as well would have been an amazing addition to that as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So perfect. So, what are your plans? Obviously, you do a lot of work helping mainly business owners and stuff like that, isn't it? Kind of, or entrepreneurs or people to write their stories down or to coach them to find this growth mindset. But what's next for you? What's your mission to inspire and empower others moving forwards?
Yeah, I do want to help as many more children as possible. And I do want to write as many books as possible. So there's so much I can do when it comes to books, because when I write books, I work on a one-to-one with my authors. So I am actually now starting to teach other people how to write their book as well.
Mhm.
So if anybody's interested, just get in touch with me on my social media or any link that you share.
Yep.
There'll be a way to contact me. But I do want to help as many people write their books. So if I can't really help you on that journey on a one-to-one, at least I can give you the direction of what you need to do, and guide you through. So yeah, so I think it's a very powerful way to share stories, to share information. And if you own a business, I think that's a great way to show your authority and grow your business. Sometimes you don't make the money right away in the books, but it's how you package it, how you show the information, how you share your formulas. That's how you are going to get a good return on investment. So I think it's worth looking into writing a book.
Yeah, beautiful. So just to remind people of the name of your book, so it's Left in Peace, Not in Pieces, which is
Yes.
a wonderfully powerful title. I really like that title as well.
Thank you.
So we'll make sure there's a link available to your book as well as to how to find you and how to connect with you. But yeah, thank you so much for kind of sharing your journey and your kind of mindset. And I love how you add that mindset into just daily practice and the culture that you work with the children that you support. And hopefully there's some inspiration out there from either foster parents who are doing the same, or maybe they're thinking about how they can then add a little bit more of that into their lives. But thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, everybody who's listening.